At this point, we have executed a basic crop of our image, and our image, when I select, is now this width and height. And the requirement is 400 by 400, so the width and the height need to be the same. And here is how we are going to accomplish the task. So the smaller of the two is the height. So I'm going to set the height to 400. And at this point, I want to make sure I maintain the aspect ratio. So I want to make sure this is enabled. So we will enter 400 pixels for our height, and then we can just click in the field here for the width. Now, our image is going to get really small because keep in mind, we're only dealing with 400 by 400 pixels in a 8.5 by 11 page that's at 300 pixels in an inch. So we're going to zoom in so it's a little easier to see. So I'll just use the zoom tool here, and there are key commands for this, but if I just select the zoom tool and click, I can also click and drag. Okay, and if you hold the Option or the Alt key, you can zoom back out, or you can click and drag either way. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. We'll see now that our image is 583 by 400 in this example, and what I need to do is change the width to 400. So I'm going to do so by getting rid of some of the pixels. And the easiest or the most accurate way is, let's go ahead and get our marquee, our rectangular marquee selection tool. I'm going to change the style to a fixed size, and my fixed size, I had done this before, so you'll have to enter your width and the height, in my case 400 by 400. So now when I click, I will get a marquee that is 400 by 400. So you're going to have to make a decision on what part of your image, because chances are you're not going to be able to see the entire image. You're going to have to make some design decisions here. So I'm going to go with something like this, and then I'm going to I'm going to release, and we'll just see our selection. Now I have a couple of options. I can copy paste and copy the selected area to its own layer, or I could change the selection. So I could go up to select, and we can inverse the selection. So you'll notice the marching ants, that's what these are often called, are to the outside. So what we're doing now is actually selecting everything outside of this area. Okay? So if we were to just press the delete key, you'll see what happens. Okay? Now I'm going to just zoom out a little bit so you can in fact see that this image or the document is what's selected. Now that's perfectly fine, okay? But you can also, so that would be an edit which is destructive. So if we changed our mind, it could be difficult to get back to this point. We could use our history, which is over here, but our history would get rid of anything else that we were doing. So as an example, I can go from clear to select inverse, like so, okay? And I should be able to go to the rectangle marquee, and now we're back to just this rectangle marquee, and we have our entire image. So I'm going to close history, and let's go ahead and zoom in. And what I'm going to do this time, so with the layer selected with the truck, with our 400 by 400 marquee selection, we'll simply go up to edit, and you can use key commands for this, and you'll learn them over time if you don't already know some of them. Edit, and what I'm going to do is copy. So we're copying the selected areas. Then we'll go to Edit, and we will paste. And you'll notice we now have a new layer. And I'm going to double click on this layer, and we will call this, I'm going to call my layer Ford F100 truck. And you're going to notice that I'm using hyphens, and that's because I tend to never leave spaces in any names that I create for digital files. It's a good idea to not leave spaces in your file names. Now, if I close, I shouldn't say close, but let's just press return to set our name here. And now we have our little eyeball for this original layer. And I'm going to turn that layer off. So we now only have the new Ford F100 truck layer, which we have cropped to 400 by 400 pixels. And if we scroll down a little bit further, I thought in the properties it might tell us what resolution this is at also. Let's go ahead and just double check. So image size, and our entire document is still at 300. All right, so now what we've just done is transformed what was a basic crop to an image which is exactly 400 by 400 pixels, which meets the exercise or the discussion requirements for our image.